Okay, so you have your SurveyMonkey data. Now we need to jump into cleaning it. And what I want you to see are a few things. We have all of this information here that comes from SurveyMonkey, and that's basically who did the survey, when did they start, when did they end. It's information that we probably won't need, but for now, let's just leave it here. We'll just sort of park it in that spot. We usually don't gather this sort of information, email, first name, last name, and so on. So I don't usually do anything with that either, but for now, we'll just leave it. The consent is a big deal. We want to make sure that the folks that took the survey did consent, and they did. So I assume one is yes, two would have been a no. All the twos are gone, or maybe they didn't do it. So so this is good information. We want to keep this just for our records to make sure that they did consent to taking the survey. Let's see. Oh, actually, I see how this works now. So sometimes with SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics, you end up with multiple columns for each answer. And that's what happened here. So we have the I do not agree. That's probably I don't agree or I don't consent. And thankfully, there aren't any. So we're good there. Now we have the question about who they are, what type of job they have. So this one, we'll want to take a look at it. If you want all these people to take the survey, that's fine. If not, that's where we'll start to reduce or eliminate the number of people that are taking the survey. For example, this one here didn't answer. So maybe we don't want this one here at all. And if that's the case, I usually highlight that in a gray or some color that I'm not going to use. And you can see they actually didn't take the survey at all. So we can get rid of that one. Let's see here. The worker ID comes from MTurk. This could be helpful later if we are questioning, did the same person take the survey twice? So we'll just leave that for now and color code that. Just the blues I have color coded as, let's leave it for now. We'll come back to it later. The yellows, we definitely want to keep that information. The next question we need to think about, is this an important question? Should they have answered? If they need to answer it, but they didn't, you can easily come in and click the blanks, and then we could eliminate all of these. It's quite a few, so I would think before you do that, is it one? Well, actually, it doesn't look like they took the survey anyway. So we'll gray those out because they didn't take the survey. And basically now we'll just go through this methodically with each question. Now the open-ended questions, we can't put those into survey or SPSS anyway. It's good information, but we can't use it for quantitative data. So let me format this so it's a little bit skinnier. We want, actually I'm looking for column width. Here we go, column width. And let's just make this a little bit smaller so we can fit it on the page. So this is good information. Don't get rid of it. We're going to keep it because we'll use it later. Now, are you 18 years old or older? I'm not sure how you had that set up. One maybe is yes and two is no, I'm going to say. So this one, oh, actually says test. So we'll get rid of that. We don't want that one in here. And let's see here. Okay. Gender. Do you have experience? All of these questions, think about if you want to, if they're necessary, like can we still use the survey if they didn't answer these questions? And if we can, then if there's a blank, like here's a blank, maybe that's okay. The ones that I think are going to be definitely questions that where they have to answer will be your survey questions. So I don't know where your survey starts. And I think these may be part of your survey, these questions here. So this is where it's helpful if you have your survey in front of you and you know which ones came from which instrument. So going back to the dissertation, this is where it's helpful to see. I went to your instrument section. You've got the servant leadership instrument, the employee engagement scale, this organizational change readiness scale, intent to quit. So having those in front of you will be very helpful. And I'll show you here in just a second what we'll do with that. So the one that I have handy is the servant leadership instrument. Let me scoot that over. So I have this one handy, and I know that you changed some of the wording, but my leader sees serving as a mission. So we're going to actually find that. And I'm going to add an extra row. So I'm going to insert a row here. And we're going to call this servant leadership question 1. Then this one is my manager lets me make decisions. So it's helpful if you have the survey printed out because they're sort of jumbled up. So we need to see where everything's at. I think what I'll do is do a search. So you can do a search here and look for the questions. Okay, so my manager is genuinely interested in me as a person. So that's question number 2. And we'll call this servant leadership 2. So this is where it's going to take some time. I think you can spend most of the weekend doing this. My leader trusts me to keep a secret. So let's come over here and look for secret. And here it is. So this is question number 3. And question number 4 is models service to inspire others. Okay, so far so good. Question 4. Now, if you have 2 monitors, it's helpful to actually move your survey to a monitor, and then you can look at this side by side. If not, again, just printing that out will help. So this next question, sincere regard. That's not question 5. So let me look at question 5, which says, my leader has shown unselfish regard. Did I type that right? Not seeing that one. So sincere regard. This may be one that was reverse code, or the wording was changed. So I'm going to put this as number 5, but we're going to highlight this because we may have to reverse code this, or we may need, we'll just have to look at that a little bit closer. Anything that's not, for the most part, verbatim to the question, go ahead and flag that. If you just changed it from my leader to my manager, I don't think that's an issue. But in this case, the question was, my leader has shown unselfish regard for my well-being. And now it says, my manager has shown sincere regard for my well-being. So it's changed the question a little bit. One was worded in a negative light. This is worded in a positive light. So we'll just flag that. So go on through and get all of the questions noted as to which question is which. And then we need to compute them. So for the servant leadership instrument, let me show you this document. And it shows you that items 2, 7, 17, 19, 21, and 27 make up love. So at the end, and this may get a little confusing. If it does, don't worry about it. We'll compute it on Monday. But at the end, what I will do is we'll call this servant leadership love. We'll have servant leadership empowerment, servant leadership vision, servant leadership humility, and those questions that need to be added to compute these. I think there's more that needs to be added. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's more, but we'll get to that. So servant leadership love, you'll see that it's saying we need items 2, 7, 17, 19, 21, and 27. So those are your actual question numbers. And that's why we are putting the question numbers up here. So we can't compute it yet until we have all the question numbers up here and they're intuitive. So that's why I'm putting servant leadership 1, because once you get to these other questionnaires, for example, the intent to quit questionnaire, you'll have to have a question 1 for that, a question 2 for that, and so on. I hope that makes sense. That's what I would work on this weekend. And if you don't have the documents, so I know I'll send you the servant leadership one, and then we'll look for the other ones: employee engagement, organizational change readiness, intent to quit. We need to get those to make sure the we have them in the proper order and we know which questions to add together. So we'll work on that. But I think in the meantime, the easiest thing to do is to start numbering which question is which at the top here. And then we can also take a look at any blanks that are in here and get those highlighted, because what we will ultimately do is delete these, so that will reduce your the count that you have as to how many people took the survey. So I usually go step by step through here to make sure every answer was answered. Every question was answered, because you'll see there's a few more in here that aren't. So we'll just double check that as we go. And I will highlight those. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So 2 steps. I think the first step is get the questionnaire. Get the questionnaires out, get those in front of you, and go through here and number which one of these questions is which item number on that specific questionnaire. Then the next part, if you have it available, is we will do the totals. If not, we'll do that on Monday, because there's a formula we can use to make that easy. So if you're not familiar with it, just leave this. That'll be quick for Monday. The other part is to just pop in, make sure that each column that should have answers has the answers. Oh, look, they took every question. They answered almost all of them except this one. So that's why we have to go through and actually look at each and every single one of the columns. So if you'll do that, that would help. So let me walk you through that real quick. But basically, we will look at one column, make sure everything is highlighted that we're going to get rid of. Then look at the next column. Do sort of a methodical process with this. It'll get a little mundane because you're going to look at a lot of columns, but in the end, it's worth it. Your data is gold standard, it's clean. So just go through it one by one, line by line. So that'll take some time too. All right. Well, have fun with this. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you Monday.